Hi guys. Welcome to my channel. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button. And also subscribe to my channel. Top 10 destinations in Hallerbos, Belgium, the Blue Forest. So make sure to watch the full video. Halle is an adorable city centered on a white Gothic church, situated south of Brussels, and on the Flemish side of the border between Flanders and Wallonia. People swarm to this area in April for a few brief weeks when the hallerbos woodland is blanketed with bluebells as far as the eye can see. Being adaptable is necessary since the blooming time varies and is based on the weather in the months before. All year round, but especially in the fall, hallerbos is a treat. And Halle merits all the time you can spare. The St. Martin's Basilica, which houses an exceptional number of antique relics, may be seen from the Renaissance town hall in the old center. One is a 13th century statue of Mary giving birth that has long been revered by pilgrims, and is paraded around the city on Whit Sunday every 2 years. 10 Hallerbos. A 550-hectare forest, primarily made up of oak and beech, surrounds Halle. April or May. For a few weeks, there is no finer place to be in Belgium than Hallerbos, which attracts tourists from all over the world for this fleeting spectacle. 3 clearly designated routes that range in length from 1.8 to 4 kilometers allow you to travel through the Hallerbos. Just be sure to stay on the path to protect the blooms. The valley-dotted terrain, which also has marshes, heather, and coniferous woods, is stunning in all seasons. In reality, the Sequoia Trail 2 leads to a plantation of enormous redwoods that you may explore. 9 St. Martin's Basilique. Mostly throughout the 14th and 15th centuries, the church was constructed from white sandstone. This period is represented by the baptistry, nave, choir, and lower levels of the tower. This structure is quite unusual in that it has never been looted, meaning that there is a ton of art and interesting things still in place. One of the most famous of them is the Black Madonna of Halle, a widely revered representation of Mary that was carved in 1250 and endowed with magical powers. Located in the octagonal baptismal font is a radiant, 2.46 meter tall, hammered copper font that was made in Tournai in 1446. The treasury in the crypt is also filled with priceless items including a monstrance donated by King Henry VIII, papal bulls, centuries-old chalices, vestments, and another monstrance donated by Louis XI and Charlotte of Savoy, in addition to many other treasures. An intriguing item is a book from the 14th century that discusses the cooperation between England and the Holy Roman Empire against France during the 100 Years' War. 8 Grote Markt. The St. Martin's Basilique in the north and the Old Town Hall in the south make up Halle's main square, which is a long, thin area with a triangle layout. Adrien François Servet, 1807–1866, a famous cellist, was born and died in Halle, and his monument is proudly displayed in front of the town hall, a meeting place for public events like the Halle Carnival, one of the biggest in Belgium. Grote Markt is home to a variety of taverns, cafes, and restaurants, all of which have outside tables. Joseph Passos Plain, where Halle's Thursday and Saturday markets are held, is located off the southeast corner of Grote Markt. This is noteworthy given the significant number of small-scale, regional producers that trade here. 7 Locality of Hizingen, Provinciedomein Hizingen. In Provinciedomein Hizingen, there are several activities available, including sizable wooded areas for strolls and bike rides as well as a pond where rowboats may be rented. The estate is filled with playgrounds, and kids will love the tiny zoo that houses domestic animals like goats and lambs in addition to rabbits, parakeets, pheasants, and many others. The manicured areas are lovely, with a rockery producing 1,200 varieties of plants and flowers that are tolerant to rocks, and an arboretum with exotic deciduous trees and conifers. All of this is complemented by sports facilities, a mini golf course, a sizable outdoor pool with slides, and a beach area prepared for sweltering summer days. 6 Den Ast. The Halle and Vicinity Museum relocated to a gorgeous old malthouse at Mayboom 16 in the 2010s. After spending a few decades in the 17th century Jesuit college near the St. Martin's Basilique, the new location makes sense considering the history of beer making in Halle and the Pajottenland. One of the regular employees at Den Hof describes the process of making malt in detail, and recalls the malt house's glory years in the 19th century. In contrast, Halle, Holy, explores the 800-year history of the city, touching on ancient guilds from the Middle Ages and traditional crafts including ceramics, weaving, and stained glass art. Halle, Devils, explores local traditions and practices, such as pilgrimages and carnival. 5 St. Huis. The original Gothic town hall at Halle was constructed in 1432 using oak beams supplied by Philip the Good, Duke of Burgundy, but it burned and destroyed in 1595. It is replaced with a regal Flemish Renaissance building that takes 8 years to complete and was completed in 1616. Gothic elements like crow-stepped gables and rib vaults are included in the design, but the facade's symmetry and horizontal orientation are characteristics of the Renaissance. The scrolling decoration, volutes, on the dormers and gable stairs also gives off a faint Baroque vibe. You can enter since here is where Halle's Tourist Information Center is located. A plaque commemorating the period spent in Halle by the 19th-century novelist Hendrik Conscience. Conscience, a former Belgian rebel, defied convention by publishing his books in Dutch as opposed to French. 4 Paterskerk. They would stay here for 170 years before departing in 2013. And in recent years, the facility has looked for a new use. Since 2016, assisted living apartments have been built in the former residential parts, and the former convent garden has been transformed into a public park. The monastery church, which Halle currently owns, is open for social, cultural, and artistic activities including concerts and installations of modern art. Bart Smeets and Steve Locatelli, 2 creative street painters, were hired to create exciting murals inside in that vein, drawing inspiration from the fairytale forest as their theme. 3 Rosentu in Coloma. There is a stunning historic estate with a castle that was converted into an opulent mansion in the 18th century about 5 kilometers from Halle. Domaine Coloma is renowned for its 15-hectare rose garden, which is said to be the biggest in Europe. Around 3,000 distinct types from 25 different nations are planted here in a traditional setting with low boxwood hedges, pergolas, lanes, and great vistas across to the castle. There are particular beds for rose kinds that have a long history, as well as one for the surprisingly large number of rose varieties that have their roots in Flanders, many of which were created by the rose breeder Louis Lenz. One of the most striking features is the bed that depicts the red and white Roos barony's coat of arms, which controlled the castle for hundreds of years up to the 20th century. The St. Peter's Leeuw municipality's cultural center is currently housed in the castle. The estate also has an orchard with fruit trees of ancient types. 2 The Kasteel van Beersel. One of Belgium's best preserved examples of military architecture is conveniently located nearby at Beersel Castle, approximately 10 minutes to the east. The castle, with its 3 menacing towers atop a moated, elongated enclosure, was initially constructed as a border fortification for the Duchy of Brabant to guard the southern entrance to Brussels. The circular perimeter, or enceinte, was first built in the middle of the 14th century. It underwent renovations after Louis XI's victorious siege at the end of the 15th century, and when the fortress was turned into a house in 1617. The residential house in the midst of the enclosure was dismantled as part of a renovation effort in the 1920s and 1930s, which is why we find this brick-built monument in such excellent shape. Visit the site to traverse the battlements, climb the towers, which are now home to many birds, and observe the way that centuries of foot traffic have worn down the bricks. April through October, as well as on Sundays between March and November. Beersel Castle is open from Tuesday through Sunday. 1 Old Jezebel College. A beautiful Baroque structure designed as a Jesuit college in the middle of the 17th century is the Oude Jesuiten College, which is located at Cardinal Cardentraat 7 and faces the St. Martinus Basilique. Before the Jesuit order was disbanded, it served as that function for a century. Afterwards, the structure served as a school, a hospital, and eventually an orphanage care facility, all of which were administered by religious institutions. The Survey Academy for Music, Speech, and Dance, which moved in the 1970s, is still housed here. Until 2014, This served as the location for the local museum, with a brick exterior and sandstone window trim and gateway. The Oud Jesuiten College continues to be a key component of Halle's historic center. So, that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed the video. Use the comments section below to tell us what you think about the video. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of all the latest videos.